So you want to know how pros get so good at Apex Legends? Well, you couldn't have found a better video because we've teamed up with some of the best players in the game to share their secrets and help you rank up faster. So without further ado, here are 7 pro tips to actually improve at Apex Legends. Before we jump into a match, let's warm up and get a little aim training in.
Aim, I think, is the most important thing in this game. You can get all the way to Pred just by having good aim. You can get all the way to high-level tournaments just because you hit a lot of bullets and you have mediocre game sense. I think it is the most important. It has the highest coefficient. So if you want efficient training, I think having good aim is one of the most efficient things that you can train.
While most players might jump into the range to shoot at bots, and some might even use tools like aim labs to practice different aiming techniques, pro players are looking for something more authentic that's closer to an actual in-game experience.
R5 Reloaded. If you're on PC, you need to download R5 Reloaded. And it's just 1v1ing an enemy on repeat over and over again. Players like Koifel, players like Zainu, players like myself, this is how we improve. You slide out and you take chows and you just always use ego chow. It's just practicing your strafe and practicing ego chowing over and over again. I haven't done this in a while and I did not warm up before recording today, but this is insane for getting better at the video game. You can practice your strafe, you practice your recoil control, you practice your tracking.
A few minutes in these modes should get you warmed up and ready to head into ranked, but if you want to perform consistently in the long term, you're going to need to build up your muscle memory. That way you can have a more consistent feeling aim without having to consciously think about it every time you shoot.
Another thing that I like to use for my warm-ups, another thing that helped me improve my muscle memory building habits, there's 2 of them that I use in this. I don't use anything else really. Popcorn targets. This is one of the best things to do. You're trying to smooth your aim, or if your aim is too jittery like this, like you're overcorrecting too much and you're going like it's not smooth and it looks like something like this and not like smooth tracking. But this is one of the best things you can do for building a smooth tracking habit. Doing this for 15 minutes or just even 5 minutes, practicing tracking, smoothing your aim with your strafe. This is gonna be your best friend, dude.
But it doesn't matter how much you warm up. Some days you just aren't feeling it. Whether you're feeling tired, uncomfortable, or just plain had a bad day, nothing you do in-game is going to fix that, and chances are you're just going to end up tilted.
So what do I recommend to people who are trying to follow in my shoes or trying to follow in somebody else's shoes in becoming pro in Apex? The first thing I would recommend, make sure your real life is in check. Make sure you exercise, eat good, sleep good, take care of your body. Your body is your tools for completing a job. You need your tools to be as good as possible. Bland advice, but honestly, it helps a lot.
It's also important that you don't overlook your physical health. While gaming might not require you to be in top physical shape, let's face it, most of us are hardly athletes, it can actually put your body under a lot of strain that may go unnoticed. Carpal tunnel, frozen shoulder, and eye strain are common conditions that can be avoided with some simple stretches and eye warm-up exercises.
Warming up your eyes and practicing tracking with your eyes can actually drastically improve your aiming, not only on mouse and keyboard, but on controller as well. So this is just a basic YouTube video of how you can go through different exercises and track these with your eyes. And the cool thing about this is that you don't even have to be at a PC. You could be on your phone in a waiting lobby at a doctor's office, and you can just open this up and kind of just practice a little bit. So this is something that is a little small, but you'll notice a significant increase in your gameplay after doing this. Another thing is a gyro ball. This is also something I learned from an old teammate of mine called Al Bralelli. He had wrist issues from playing mouse and keyboard for such a long period of time in Apex, and he recommended that you purchase a gyro ball, and that can help you warm up and stretch in person before you actually get into game, so you don't feel stiff and your movements are more fluid. This is something that you can look into.
It might seem obvious, but if you want to play at your best, then you're going to need to get good sleep, eat healthy, and stay hydrated, or your body just won't be reliable. And of course, sticking to a regular schedule at the gym can't hurt. Many pro players actually swear by it as a way to improve their focus, drive, and confidence, both in-game and outside of it. Okay, so now that you've warmed up, done some stretches, and have your muscle memory on lock, I think we're ready to drop in, but that leaves us with the age-old question: where are we dropping? Picking a good drop location can make or break a match. Land somewhere too risky and you could get wiped instantly, but if you pick somewhere safe, you could end up with no loot and get stuck behind for the rest of the game. Is there guns in this game? Pro players will spend countless hours studying each map to find the best drop locations, prioritizing POIs with high-tier loot spawns and advantageous locations with great cover so they can grab loot fast and win their early game fights.
All right, so where I like to land on every single map in ranked, I have a spot pretty much for everywhere on every map. Let's start with Broken Moon. I know that's not in the rotation right now, but let's start with it just to get it out of the way. There's a ton of good spots to land on Broken Moon. On this specific drop ship on this map picture, I would be going Alpha Base, Stasis, or Gulch. Those are the three, okay? Gulch if you want a hot drop. Gulch is insane, okay?
On your next drop, take some time to analyze your chosen POI. Were you able to loot up fast? Did other teams land near you? And were you able to win those early fights? And if dropping at every single location on every single map doesn't sound super fun to you, then head over to FPS Lounge and check out Keon's full breakdown of each map so that you don't have to. Okay, so you've found a good drop location and you've managed to collect some decent loot. But you're going to quickly realize that you're not alone as enemy squads begin to surround you. So what should you do now to gain some early game momentum? Do you try to find cover or get yourself straight into a fight?
This is one of the most obvious things that a lot of really high level players always recommend newer players or people who just want to excel in a game quicker. Every single time I play a new game and I try to improve as quick as possible, I try to spend my time efficiently by doing the most valuable things in terms of like fighting or whatever I want to try to learn. I try to hyper focus on that. So the issue with landing on the outside of the map in public matches is that most people don't play public matches seriously. Everyone's landing in the middle because they just want to play team deathmatch. So if you want to get mechanically gifted and you want to try to win these hard fights more often, just land hot and do that over and over and over and over and over until you can consistently understand how to make micro decisions in your fights better.
The fastest way to improve your mechanics and get an early advantage in every match is to play your drop with confidence. Don't be afraid to land near an enemy squad.
Landing with at least one team is extremely beneficial if you win that 3v3. And I think winning that 3v3 on drop is one of the best ways to improve and also just gain confidence for the rest of the game moving forward.
You've done the warm-up and honed in your skills. Now is your time to bring that into your match to dominate your early fights. Collect great loot and level up your Evo shield so you can carry that confidence forward for the whole match. Apex can be pretty chaotic, especially in the early game. Low-level shields, the mad scramble for loot, and enemy squads all around you. It can be pretty overwhelming at times, and that can hold a lot of players back, but you can make fights a lot more manageable with one simple change to your perspective.
Everyone thinks that Apex is so complicated. But when you zoom in with a microscope, you'll see that it's actually a really simple, basic game, just with infinite ways to play it with your own playstyle, whatever that might actually be. Apex is simple because at the end of the day, it's all about your health, how to keep your health up and bring everyone else's health down. Not just that, but also how to control everyone's health, because health is what's going to basically determine what can and can't happen in a fight. Once you understand that, you'll quickly learn how to control the entire game.
This simple change in perspective can really help you to cut through a lot of the noise by simply focusing on one thing: the health economy of each player in an engagement. So with that in mind, what can you do to keep your health high while dealing damage to enemy players?
There's so many tricks that you can do to avoid damage, like using fancy movement, but cover is going to be the most consistent, easiest, and controllable thing that you could use if keeping up your health and avoiding damage is your goal. That's simply because you can't shoot through walls, which means that when you're not wanting to take damage, you can simply move your body into cover and avoid getting touched by other players. Without cover, a physical object that you can easily take a step over into, you're a wide open target with nowhere to go or anything to do. This doesn't necessarily mean that you'll get knocked or take damage, but without cover, there's now an option to shoot you non-stop. And as we develop our skills today, you'll see very quickly Apex at the highest of levels is all about taking away players' options and giving ourselves more to keep playing and securing easy kills.
Okay, so right now you're probably thinking, duh, obviously I use cover, but there is one huge mistake that you are probably making.
Now, there are a lot of people who think that they know how to use cover. And to some degree, they are using cover. For instance, these two dummies that I got moving around right here, both of them are making sure that they go and they stick themselves into cover. Here's the thing, a lot of people don't realize that Apex, the time to kill, even though it can be really long, it is still also insanely easy to put in tons of damage very, very quickly. For instance, if I were to shoot this dummy here for just 1 second, I can do over 100 damage. And this is the same thing with pretty much every single gun in the game. Now, the most common way that a lot of people are going to unintentionally give a lot of possible damage to a player or just make a mistake with playing their cover is they're going to come too far out into the open. And as we remember, you can deal 100 damage in just 1 second of shooting your gun. If you're strafing one Mississippi out into the open and having to strafe that other whole second back, you're pretty much risking giving another player the opportunity to hit you for 100, 200 plus damage every single time that you step out into the open. Good players are going to punish you for that. Now, the second most common reason why some players are getting absolutely
If
destroyed.
you're using cover correctly, then you should be able to start winning more trades to gain an easy advantage in every fight. But if you don't capitalize on that advantage, then it simply goes to waste. So how can you use that pressure to secure the kill?
Engagement makes players passive. So a cool theory or a concept that you can kind of think about here is the more engaged that you are, the less engaged that other players have to be. Because if they're not becoming more passive, they're going to be continuously taking tons of pressure onto them. And just like how we showed before, players who stand in the open tend to get one-magged. So my goal as I'm taking this gunfight is if I can engage with a player and make him become passive, because again, I'm being very engaged right now. I'm holding that angle and I'm pressuring him and I'm trying to hold him in his cover. I'm going to use that as a chance to move up and force that player into the open and try to secure them as a kill.
Generally speaking, playing passively is going to put you in unfavorable positions that enemies can easily take advantage of. If you want to win more games, you have to stay proactive at all times so you can fight on your terms.
Up until the Raleigh LAN, playing conservative was how everybody played. They played Val, Costa, Gibby, Watson, stuff like that. Wait till the last second to do something. You played super reactively, and if things didn't go your way, you just fell over and died. Well, me personally, I think playing like that is very, very bad. And we kind of showcased at the Raleigh LAN that it's very abusable. I think the best way to play this game is to play super, super proactively. It is much easier to force your opponent into making a mistake than it is for them to make one on their own choice, right? For example, if someone's in a building and you want to kill them, you're much more likely to get rid of them by actively pushing them than waiting for one of them to walk outside and die, right? That's just not realistic. So when you're playing Apex, you need to force mistakes out of your opponent, play super proactive, take risks, try to bait your opponent into making mistakes, stuff like that. Most people in this game play way too passive. Playing passive can hinder your growth as a player, right? If you're never taking risks, you're not really pushing the boundaries and you're never gonna really escape your box, right?
If we want to be proactive after a trade, then we're going to need to close the gap between us and them fast. This is where good movement can make or break your push entirely. Move too slow and you'll get picked off instantly. But it's not as simple as just holstering your weapon and bolting at the enemy.
Now, what a lot of people don't really realize is that running with your gun up or running with your gun down doesn't just affect your movement speed, but it's also going to dramatically affect one of the most used mechanics in the game, which is going to be your slide jumps. If your weapon is in your hand and you want to input a sprint followed by a crouch to enter the slide, you're going to need to take a minimum of 1, 2, 3 steps before you can actually enter into a slide. Whatever momentum you bring into that mechanic, your slide is going to carry it and continue it until it slowly wears off. Now, because you're running already slow, your slides naturally will also be at a slower speed, meaning when you hit the ground, you're not going to be traveling as fast across it, making it a lot easier for players to track you and hit you if you are trying to evade damage while moving in front of them. Now, as soon as we holster our weapon, now we're able to do something that I like to call instant sliding. As soon as the weapon's put away, all we need to do is take 1 step, and we can instantly get into that slide. Now, we can easily fix this issue of moving without our gun in hand and shooting really late by changing just one simple thing. It takes roughly half of a second to go from moving fast, gun down, to moving slow, gun in hand. Now, because it takes half a second to transition our body, what we can do is we can actually exploit this and use it to our advantage. I can use that half-second buffer to input the instant slide. And what it starts to look like full speed is unholster, step, crouch. And as you can now probably see, my weapon is actually in my hand as I'm still in the air, not just as I'm about to hit the ground, which means that we now have a lot more time to be shooting as we're pushing forward.
And there you have it, 7 tips from some of the best players in the game to help you rank up faster. Obviously, there's plenty more to cover, and each of these players has a full in-depth course available on fpslounge.com that we highly recommend you check out if you're serious about ranking up. Now get your squad together, lock in, and we'll see you at the top.